Hey, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, also known as Pajama Grandma. Today, let's talk about modeling. Not walking down the runway like Barbie. Until I hang out with a 4-year-old, I talk about Barbie sometimes. Actually, it's really interesting. I realized the other day as I'm listening to Barbie in the background, every once in a while, and usually every episode of the Barbie Dream House, there is a really good lesson in there, a really good life lesson that is shared with kids. And so as we think sometimes, oh, it's just Barbie, they're watching Barbie, there has been this transition where they do a really good job teaching children positive life lessons through entertainment. And I think that's a really cool thing to model, even though I haven't figured out how to model it and be entertaining yet. It's something I want to do. I'm going to aspire to do. But talking about modeling today as part of the countdown to the Life Challenge Workshop, March 23rd, with all the junk going on in the world, guess what? I am not going to miss a beat. I'm here and I'm doing the same things that I'd always be doing since I've moved from the offline brick and mortar world to the online world. And that's what this whole series is all about. Every day I hop on and I talk about my transition from the brick and mortar corporate world to the online world. And it's day 777, which should be super lucky, but I don't know, I don't gamble, so to me it's not necessarily super lucky. But obviously, since I'm 777 days into something, the real truth is you're not going to be, and probably not going to be, an overnight success in the online world. Every overnight success that you ever have modeled or want to model or continue to model or read books about, every single one of them is years in the making, at least years in the making, if not decades in the making. Now, my goal coming online was to duplicate my offline business success online. And that's a pretty big goal. It's a pretty big number. And I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't cracked my own code, although I think I've got it now, to meet that same objective and that same goal. And I may have talked about what that is exactly before, not sure, but it's a really big number. It's a super big number as a one-day income generating goal. It's a huge number, and most people would laugh if I shared it, so I'm not gonna, because it's my personal goal. Some things we share with people, some things we don't. I share it with my inner circle and my mastermind groups, but I don't share it with like just everybody I'm talking to, especially not as a part of I'm documenting my journey discussion. So modeling people's behavior. I was talking about this today as part of the top 20 countdown, the 20 biggest lessons I've learned in 47 years in business. I've been in businesses for 47 years, and 25 of that I was also working in corporate America for some of the biggest corporations on the planet. And there were some, positive lessons learned there, and there were some negative lessons learned. I would fathom to guess that I actually learned more from my negative experiences in my past than I've ever learned from the positive experiences in my past. And you know what? There's been a whole lot of each, right? But I, like everybody else, tend to coast when I do something and it works out the first time or I'm successful at it. I tend to celebrate a little and then coast as I get into the next thing. But if I have a challenge or a problem or something that I have to figure out or overcome, I am looking for solutions, and I'm learning a lot as I'm looking for those solutions. So I've always learned more from the challenges and the problems and the obstacles that I faced than I have from the things that worked out right the first time I tried them, right? Do we all like to have successes and have things work out for us? Sure we do. But the truth is, if we didn't have the challenges, we wouldn't appreciate the successes nearly as much as had we just gotten something automatically. You look at kids that grow up in super wealthy families, they don't appreciate necessarily all of the gifts and all of the things that they have because they take it for granted. They just expect it to always be there. And if you've had to earn something, remember when I was a kid, I wanted one of these gigantuan stereos, right? These ridiculous, 8-component, what were they called? Gosh, I can't remember the name of it now. That's sad. But, all the different components of the stereo system. And it was thousands of dollars, right? And back in the 70s, when I wanted it, that was a ton of money. There's no way with 3 siblings, there were 4 of us girls, and we were all teenagers. There's no way my parents were going to buy that for me, right? Number one, it wouldn't be right to buy that and not my other sister's an equal thing, right? So I decided I had to earn that stereo, and I would save my money up and I would buy it. And I did. I saved up my money and I bought it one component at a time. And I built this kick-ass stereo system that traveled with me to college, traveled with me to my first home and my first apartment, my first corporate job, and traveled with me, wow, it traveled with me through, I kept it for a really long time because I worked so hard to earn it, right? And I really appreciated it because I had worked for and earned that. And I learned the lesson of how much we value things that we have to put effort into achieving, versus if my parents had just given it to me and bought it for me, it would probably be like my first car. I wouldn't have necessarily taken the best care of it, right? And that's a bad example, but it's a good example to admit. My first car, my parents bought me, right? When I graduated from high school, they bought me a car, and I loved it, but I didn't love it as if I had earned and paid for it. I didn't take as good a care of that as I did that silly stereo that I earned. But then when I bought my next car, when I bought my RX-7 myself and was paying for it and picked it out and making all the payments on it, I treated that little car like gold. I had that car several years after my son was born. Just because I had earned it and paid for it myself, I didn't want to let it go. I didn't want to sell it. But that first car I ended up, having to get rid of and sell even before I was done with college, because I took care of it, but I didn't take as good a care of it as I should have had I earned it myself. So we're not even talking about that. We're talking about modeling behavior and making sure that we follow people who are actually doing what it is that we want to do. Talking about battening down the hatches as part of Supersize Your Business today, and are you prepared? Now, Supersize Your Business is, of course, a business group, and in that group we talk about ways to actually take our businesses from 100% offline to online, and the power of that. And the people that have already done that and taken the action to move that way are probably feeling a lot better than the people that are 100% being impacted by what's going on in the world right now. The whole coronavirus thing is impacting entire industries, and it will eventually impact all of us, right? Because there's the ripple effect of everything that happens in the world impacts all of us. But depending on where you are, have you battened down the hatches? Have you prepared and gotten ready for this or any other type of emergency? I learned early on to have contingency plans and backup plans, especially in the offline world. And I think I talked yesterday about, once in a while I would walk into my business and it would be flooded, or we'd lose electricity, we'd lose all the power. Well, in a frozen food, no preservatives manufacturing business, what do you do if your freezers go down and you don't have any power? Well, you have contingency plans, because you can go a certain amount of hours and the freezers will maintain their integrity. But after that time, you have to have a backup plan, right? And we always had backup plans for any type, and as many as we could imagine. Of course, I don't think people could have imagined this coronavirus, although if I think about it, we probably should have, right? We've had all of these wake-up calls with these different viruses and bird flus and swine flu. I lost a high school friend to the swine flu. So you'd think that with all of these things, we would have maybe thought about and put some contingency plans in place, but most of us have not. Now, I always had contingency plans at my businesses, and I have contingency plans with my online business as well. Some people don't, but it's a good, painful, in many instances, wake-up call to say, maybe I should have some thought behind what do I do if certain things were to happen. Knowing that the probability of them happening is slim to none, but we still are prepared. We still have a plan in place. We still have an idea of what we would do. So that's the whole topic of battening down the hatches. Asking yourself, where am I right now? Doesn't matter if I didn't prepare, I didn't prepare. I'm not going to get mad about it. I'm just going to do what I can do now. And then focusing on what we can do right now. What can we do right now? Focus on the good and what we can do, not on what we can't do. Oh, I can't go to a concert. I can't go to a football game. I can't go to a basketball game. I can't go to a hockey match. But, are we going to live because we miss a few sporting events? Of course. Other people in that industry are going to be hurting more than we are because we can't go be entertained for a couple of hours. So let's keep it all and put it all in perspective and ask, what can we do? Because there's a whole lot of things that we can do that we've never had the time and energy to do. But now, for a lot of us, we're going to be able to take advantage of that. And let's look for the positive things in that, not just the negative. I'm sure people, some of them are dreading having to spend weeks at home with their kids. In the state of Wisconsin, I just found out yesterday from my granddaughter's amazing mom that starting Wednesday until April 6th, the entire school system in the state of Wisconsin is shut down. Well, that is millions of little children that now need to be home with one parent. And if you only have one parent, if you're a single parent, that is a huge problem, because you can't send them off to daycare. Daycares are closing. Any grouping and gathering of kids is non-existent right now. So how are people going to handle that? And so, I'm going to be hanging out with a 4-year-old for that period of time. And my son and Maddie are really in a good position, because they have family close that can help out. But most people aren't going to be in that position. Most people aren't going to be able to go to work, and especially single parents. So how are they going to handle the storm? Well, they could feel bad and commiserate and be upset about that, but knowing that the government's going to step in and help people economically, right? I would imagine no one is going to lose their home or their car because they can't make a payment over the next period while we weather this storm. There will be things in place to protect people against that. There are businesses that are going to have huge financial losses, but are they really financial losses, or are they just money that they didn't bring in? And how do you call your business? How do you set your business up to continue after we come out of this? Because we're going to come out of this, right? We always do. Everything ebbs and flows in life and in business. And this is another storm that will pass. So are you going to survive it? Entirely up to you. And people say, it's not up to me, it's up to the government, or up to this or that. But that's not true. It's entirely up to you and your ability to be creative and open-minded and to look for solutions, because there's going to be a whole lot of people. And one of the things my granddaughter and I talked about doing, and we started a brainstorm list yesterday, is what are we going to do every day to fill this extra time that we get to spend together? And it's extra time we get to spend together, not, I have to stay home with my kids and be miserable. You can look at it that way, or you can look at it that, hey, I've had to work all these years and I have missed out on so much time and energy and so many interactions I could have had with my kids. How can we make this fun for everybody? How can we use this to bring us all closer together instead of looking at it as a boring, terrible time? And I honestly think that the biggest challenge people are going to have, it's not missing work, it's not the economics, it's what do I do at home with my kids, or what do I do at home if I'm at home and not working with my time? So many people have never had so much time, and we're so used to this frenzied pace, and I was the same way. This frenzied pace of running through our lives, we're like, if I have time to stop, being super busy has always been my excuse to not do certain things or think of certain things or get certain things done. There's so many things that we can do that we haven't had the time for, and let's focus on doing those things and making our lives better and creating better environments for ourselves than being frustrated by what we can't do. Again, I always say focus on what you can do, not on what you can't do, and you'll be a lot happier. Focus on what you can do for yourself, for your family, and for other people, because I guarantee there are ways that we can all help and contribute positively to what's going on right now versus negatively. And I would say, if you're contributing to things negatively, if you're panicking and freaking out and thinking it's the end of the world, check yourself, right? Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is you lose your business, right? If we're talking about business owners. The worst that can happen is you struggle financially. And there's already going to be help with that, right? There's going to be help for the industries that are impacted. There's going to be help for the people that are impacted. So instead of focusing on the loss and, oh my God, this is awful, I can't go to work every day, think of it, oh my God, this is like a vacation and time I can spend with my kids and my family, enhancing our relationships. How can we do things that are fun with one another? Again, all a matter of perspective. Is it scary? Yeah, I'm not gonna say that I have and I'm not really personally afraid for myself, but I am afraid for people I love and care about, right? I am afraid, and not super afraid, but I am concerned, and I'm just sending out good energy saying, hey, make sure you take care of yourselves. Make sure you focus on what you can do. And if we each do what we can to make the situation better, everything will work out a lot less painfully than if we don't, right? Have you ever approached an emergency situation where you're just panicked? How well does that work out versus if you approach a similar situation and you're calm and collected and you do what you can do to figure things out, right? If we're solution focused versus problem focused, we'll all be fine. So thinking about that today, live challenge workshop March 23rd is a go. I'm not changing anything that I do. I'll be online every single morning throughout this whole thing, no matter what. That's one of the beauties of being online already, is I don't see missing a beat in what I do. Unlike a lot of other industries and a lot of other businesses, where I'm sitting in my Italian food business, I would be a little bit more stressed, but I already know I have contingency plans, and I had contingency plans so that, yep, economically we would lose sales, but we would survive. We wouldn't be out of business forever because of this current situation. You know, other businesses, there will be businesses that die during this, but again, it won't be because of the coronavirus. I guarantee everybody's annual reports this year will be blaming not meeting their budget projections on the coronavirus. And that is a factor, but it isn't the only reason, because there will be other industries born out of this crisis, out of this situation. There will be other businesses and people that rise up and rise to the occasion and help other people and create whole new industries out of this situation. I guarantee the hand sanitizer, the cleanliness and sanitation and food safety industries are going to boom out of this, and so are a lot of our situations in our industries. Probably even insurance will. They'll probably sell some new kind of insurance against, viruses. They'll sell everybody virus insurance so that if you lose financially or lose something, you can get paid out virus insurance. Because guess what? It's a $1 trillion industry, right? Don't get me started on insurance. Anyway, that's it. I'm wondering if I can help you in any way. Hit me up in the comments below. If you are freaking out for your family or your business or your situation and you don't have contingency plans in place, ask in the comments below. I have created contingency plans for myself and for my businesses and other businesses and billion-dollar organizations for decades. And so if you're worried about that, if you're freaking out, if you need a Calm Me influence and you want to know what to do, just ask for help, and we'll make sure that you get set up so that you're not freaking out, so that you can take this time to rebuild, to focus on yourself, to build things that will enhance and improve your business and your life and your family going forward, not detract from it, right? All right, that's it. Have an absolutely fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow. If I can help you in any way, ask. All right, take care. Bye.